No opening statements. I'm ready to go.
Chris, Green Bay's defensive line, what do you see when you see them? They got a bunch of different guys. They're having a lot of success.
Very well coached. One of the better coached groups will play. Everybody's well coached in the NFL, but this group's very well coached, very disciplined in what they do. Play a lot of intensity, play with great pad level, they play with great passion. They know what they're doing. They're very, like I said, they execute well. The defense is called. You got to block them. You got to get after them, and you got to really work hard to stay on your blocks. Otherwise, I was showing some clips today, going back to the game up in the tundra in the freezing cold a couple years ago, that we had some space for big gains, and there would be 5 yards. 4 yards, 6 yards. They did a good job of defeating blocks and making tackles, and they've done it. Continue to do it since then. They continue to get better in their scheme, and very, very big challenge for us this week.
Kyle Shanahan yesterday was talking about how Christian McCaffrey's probably been ready for every game back into his Pop Warner days. Have you seen a guy who's been drafted that high, who's been so eager and so hardworking in this position? I mean,
he's in the group with the elite guys. You know, like I've said in the past, working with a Peyton Manning, you work with a Jonathan Ogden, you work with some of these guys that are Randall McDaniel, these Hall of Fame type players that are just, they prepare as nobody else does, and they're like almost crazy about their preparation. They're never going to let up. They're never going to. They leave no stone unturned as far as the game planning, as far as work, as far as their physical preparation. And Christian's in that group of just elite players like that. There's been a handful, but they're generational type players.
Kyle said yesterday that when you actually look at the film, it's not so surprising that the Packers were able to come in and upset the Cowboys. Did you see that as well?
Yeah, I think everybody in the playoffs, everybody has a chance. I remember when we lost the Rams last game of the year, some of the guys in that staff I'm friends with, I had texted them and said congratulations, and they all said, hey, we'll see you in a couple weeks. And I said, I think we're going to see the Packers. And it's nothing against Dallas. Dallas is a good team, but I've been watching Green Bay recently, and they're a good team. Dallas is a good team, and it was going to be a good battle. And not that Dallas couldn't have won as well. They were the higher seeded team, but everybody, once you're in this thing, you just don't know how it's going to turn. And the team that gets hot, the team that's playing well, you take care of the football this time of year, you're going to have a chance. And Green Bay's doing all the right things right now, and there's not a surprise that they won the game. They did more things well in that game, and were able to come away with the win.
You were with Kyle and Matt LaFleur in Washington. Do you look at these two? I don't know, you're probably not looking at their offense real closely, but do you see a lot of the similarities in the way these teams operate?
Well, they do. I mean, their offensive coordinator, Stenovich, was here for the first couple of years with Kyle. Then you have Matt there, and I think with anytime when they were there with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to take some of what he did, some of what you do, and you kind of blend it together. Now, this is a little bit more along lines. There's a lot of similarities, although they've started from a different jump out. They started the thing with Rodgers, and now it's evolving a little bit more towards what I would think Matt would be. Not as similar to us, but there's a lot of things they do. It's really cool to watch what they do, because all the teams from this tree, whether you look at Cleveland, you look at us, you look at all the teams that kind of run similar. When the Jets, when LaFleur was there, and down with Sean, and then everybody takes a spin with it. In fact, last year I was talking with Kevin Stefanski. I think it was 2 years ago. I was trying to get recommendations to hire our assistant offensive line coaches, and Kevin said, it's always fun to see what each guy does with the system. When a new guy gets a job, Bobby Slowick now in Houston, you take every single one of these guys, Matt LaFleur, Kyle, Sean, everybody that gets their little piece. It's just a little different flavor, a little different spin, and that's what Matt has.
When you were on that staff, did you ever look around at all these young coaches and think, man, this is a pretty special group of guys, or was it more just, let's just have a good day of practice?
Well, no, it was like I told you, I think I've said this before, it's one of my favorite stories about Matt and Sean is I'm interviewing, and I'm suited up, and I got Kyle and Mike Shanahan sitting right where you guys are, right across this big staff table. I'm on the chalkboard, and I'm sweating. Oh my gosh, here's Mike and here's Kyle, and I get my chance to interview with them. And then in the corner, there's these two guys sitting there with short haircuts, all buttoned up and young. I mean, young, and I'm wondering, what are they doing here? I'm talking to Mike and Kyle, trying to get a job, and it turns out it's Matt and Sean. And they look like the two guys I told you. They look like they're going to pick up the free agents at the airport, and then they're going to bring them back for meals. And literally, they're working their tails off. Matt's the quarterback coach. Sean's working quality control. And I just knew we had a special atmosphere. The group we had there with Coach Shanahan, how he built the thing, how he taught us all, how he tried to change the culture and environment there, then how Kyle was with his dad, and then how they trained. We worked all together to learn this thing, and then to put the thing together with RG3. That's when you kind of saw everybody kind of come into their own, when their own flair of creativity. And Kyle gives guys a lot of freedom. Hey, Matt, you're in charge of third down. Sean, you're in charge of red zone. Bring me your report before I delve into it. And seeing how they would come up with their own flair and spin on things. And some days it was, man, great job, Sean. Some days he yelled down the hall at Sean, what'd you do? Did you work out all day? You didn't do anything for my report here. It was Kyle, but it was the way we all got better. Kyle held us all accountable and did a real good job, as did his dad, and that's kind of how the thing grew.
Debo just did something that only Charlie Taylor had done before in terms of rushing and receiving yards his first 5 years. With Debo, is he just such a natural talent that when you're putting in run game stuff, that you don't necessarily have to be as finite with him on the detail? I know your run game is very detailed. I'm just curious how different it is maybe when you work with Debo.
Yeah, there's some things that obviously he is so talented. You get the ball in his hands, and there's a lot of good things can happen. But there are certain plays that require a few more reps as a running back, and others don't require. So we do lean on the ones that maybe don't require as many reps. Not that he can't read it or doesn't read it. He's just not going to get the work at it, because by the time you work at receiver, you do everything that you do there. By the time you do the blocking that we need to get done with the game, and then you give him some handoffs as well. There's only certain things you can do. So you try to keep the focus on things that don't require quite as much, but there's certain things he likes and is good at, and whether it's done perfectly or not, he finds a way to get yardage out. I remember against Green Bay up there a few years ago, we ran a play at the end of the game to ice the game, no pun intended, but he ran through there, and it wasn't blocked well. It was a very poorly executed play, and Debo found a way to get us a first down, and if that was the end of the game, we're a victory from that point forward.
What kind of advantage does it give you guys to have the interchangeability of Debo and Christian and what they can do?
Oh, all those guys, man, it's great. I mean, every single guy that goes in the game, it's a little bit different between JP, between Mitch, and then Christian, and you have Debo, and all those guys when they handle the football and what they do with it. Shoot, even Ray, when you've seen him handle the ball at times. Anybody that can touch that football, we've just got a lot of guys with the ball in their hands, a lot of different ways to get it to them, the creativity that Kyle uses and the other coaches use to help get these guys involved. It's a great advantage to be able to do that. So it's not always going to be Christian. Christian may be lead blocking. We've talked about it before. It's just it's a great advantage. I don't know how it affects the defense. It is a great way to get everybody involved in the offense.
Cowboys had a check at the line of scrimmage early in the game where you could hear Dak Prescott on the TV copy saying false Shanahan. It was a run play to Pollard to the left. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, I'm assuming Shanahan, it was an outside zone play, so the Shanahans have been known for the outside zone running game, so I'm assuming. And then the L word, someone there probably meant their code word for running the play to the left. So I'm guessing, if I were guessing, I don't know anything about it. Was it fall? Was that the word? False, yeah. So false Shanahan would be we're running left Shanahan or something. Who knows what all their code words are? I'm sure they have a ton of them, and they're ones that I can't spend time breaking. But when I heard Shanahan, I said, I bet it's an outside zone, and I was sitting there watching with my son. And sure enough, it was. So yeah.
Feliciano or Burford at right guard, or can you say?
We're working right now. John had some, we're working through some things last week of the season. I think we're going to see you'll see some of both guys in the game as far as who starts and who doesn't, although I'm not sure at this point. I think we're working out through the week, and it could be a hot hand thing, could be let one guy just go with it and see. I don't know. We're still, both guys have been working, and we got to have flexibility in there. My thing is that with our, Banks has had some things this season. So the flexibility of John being able to work all the positions, that's always going to leave us a little bit making sure that John's ready at all the spots. He's the backup center. He's the backup left guard. So that always weighs into our equation a little bit. So we've got to keep some flexibility there.
Wrong question, but how valuable is Kyle Juszczyk to what you guys do as an offense in general?
Kyle's very, 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 he's instrumental in so much that we do. I think that you have to deal with the fullback. You're saying, okay, the fullback running game. Then you can put him as a tight end position. Then you can put him in the backfield on third down. Then you can split him out, and he can run routes in our route tree and do everything instead. He can run down the field and catch passes. He's not a great matchup at times for linebackers to cover. So that flexibility, all that we can do with him, plus having him dot the I, be the fullback in the I formation, gives us a great deal. And as I've stated in here, we've talked about this before in here, how the fullback position, the guy in the backfield allows you to cut the defense in different ways. So everything he can do in the run game, protection-wise, everything he does is just very flexible. And really, really such, again, it's forget where he went to school. He's a really smart football player. And the guy's really, really does a great job of sometimes kind of helping the other guys put everything together and sees the play and understands it. And he understands the intent of the play. So not only does he execute what we ask him, he executes it pretty cool too. He does it in a good way.
Chris, four different teams have run for 200 yards against this Green Bay defense. I would imagine you watch those films. Is there any common denominators in any of the success against their run D?
Yeah, and, every team can have its day on offense or on defense, and I think that what happens is all it takes is a couple big runs, and you pop a big run or two, and that can happen. And so that's what ends up happening. I mean, a couple years ago, we ran for a lot of yards against the Vikings in the first round playoff game, but we didn't have a run over 7 yards, and it was hard to get a big number. Whenever you have a big day running the football, there's going to be some explosive runs in there somewhere. And when you get those explosive runs, did it happen because of a missed gap, missed tackle, great block play, good design? There's a lot of different reasons that plays like that can happen. I don't know offhand exactly what they would be. Obviously, we're going to look at what we think we can have success within our package and what they do. And and as I told my guys the other day, man, it's playoff time, and expect the unexpected. What you think you're going to see, you may not see. What you've prepared for all week may not happen. So you got to rely on your 18 weeks, 17 weeks, of playing football games and how you've worked together as a group to build on that and get yourself ready for whatever they may bring, and hoping that you can have that kind of success running the football.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Good day of practice today. Guys are locked in, they're focused, and they should be. It's postseason play, and we're excited about where we are. We understand it's do or die. You got to win or you go home. So we got a difficult task this week. The Packers are a real good football team, and they showed that last week against the Cowboys. I think their run game is probably top notch right now in how they're performing, and moving the ball down the field, offensive line, controlling the line of scrimmage in so many different ways, buying time for Love to get the ball down the field off play action. But Jones and Dillon, they're running the ball at a high level. The receivers are playing great, with Reed leading the charge there. So a lot of respect for those guys. They're well coached, and again, it's going to be difficult, but we're looking for the challenge this week.
Jordan Love started off the season a little slow. He's been really hot in the second half of the season. How good is he really, and what's the key to defending him?
I think he's real good, and I think the latter part of the season, maybe he was maybe twice or maybe 3 times NFC Player of the Week. So he's doing some great things, and I think number one, he's protecting the ball, and he's putting the ball where he needs to go. You think about a young guy like that, and you forget that he's really played behind Aaron for 3 years. So he's learned a lot. He's mature. You can see that on the field. Even when you think about, okay, here's a guy that I'm going to try to go pressure, where his percentage rate against pressure is pretty high. So he does a great job in getting rid of the ball.
How do you disrupt the rhythm he's in? He's in an incredible rhythm. You guys did this against Lawrence, I think, coming out of the bye, took him out of rhythm early in that game. How do you try to take a quarterback out of rhythm when he's really in one?
Well, I think the number one thing is we have to try to stop this run, to try to make them one-dimensional. When they're very effective running the ball, I think it just opens up the play action. And that's where you see, him being extremely effective in taking his shots down the field and finding an open receiver. So that's number one. And then, again, we just got to try to mix things up on him a little bit, to give him something to think about and figure out where he needs to go with the ball.
In the past, Matt LaFleur would sort of build the offense along with Aaron Rodgers, with Rodgers' input. Now it seems like this is really LaFleur's offense. What's the hallmark of it? What do you see from it, and how similar to what you do here?
Well, I think you can see he's doing an excellent job. Number one, he's committed to the run game. That's the consistency there. I think at times when you have a first ballot Hall of Famer, a guy like that who can throw the ball 55, 60 times to go win your games is different. But now, not saying that Love can't do that, but, LaFleur is dedicated and committed to running the ball, and it shows, which allows and opens up different things for the offense to be, very productive. So I see that being the difference.
Love's doing one thing that's kind of unique, Steve. He's dropping back at the top of his drop. He's starting to fade away to buy himself a little bit more time, and it's been effective for him. Is there a counter to something like that? And what have you thought when you watched it?
Well, it's no counter there. That's somewhat what I was alluding to where him being able to come up behind Aaron for those last 3 years. That's one of the things that Aaron was very effective with, drifting a little bit, buying time, and he has an arm strength love. I'm talking about to still get the ball down the field. You saw that with zero pressure against the Cowboys, and he hit that, what I call that Dino post for the touchdown in the red zone. And, we got to do a great job on the back end plastering, what we call right now really latching on to our receivers. He's going to do a great job buying time. He can do that with his feet. He's not looking to run. His eyes are still down the field trying to be effective and get the ball thrown. So that's number one. And then two, we got to win up front. Our front four got to do a great job in getting out to this quarterback.
Aaron Jones, I believe, has had 400-yard games in a row. What does he do well? How good is he?
He's real good. He runs behind his pass. He can run in between the tackles. He can really jump set and get the ball to the perimeter defense, and that's a point of emphasis, each and every week, but particularly this week as well. We got to do a great job setting edges, and I think again running behind his pass, he does a hell of a job in really making the first guy miss, after contact. So we got to do a great job with 11 guys swarming and getting to the ball.
Brown's coming off the knee sprain. How's he looked in practice? And is that a decision you got to make? Decide one or the other there? How do you view that?
Well, again, they both are looking well in practice. Jair's bounced back, as you just talked about. He's looking good. Logan has been consistent. They both dealing with a little bit of injuries and whatnot, but thus far this week, I haven't seen any setbacks, so that's encouraging. Logan is a guy that's been there. He's had the experience. He's played in 2 Super Bowls. Postseason is something that's just not unusual to him. But also when you look at Jair, it's not too big for him. Being able to come in and fill the shoes of Huff, all-pro player that went down, unfortunately. Jair didn't blink, and he's doing a great job. So it's good to be in that situation to have these guys available.
Do the Packers have a go-to receiver in their passing game that you must account for, or do they sort of spread it around?
They spread it around, but, I got a lot of love for all those guys. Reed is one that shows up quite a bit, particularly, jet sweeps and those kind of things, reverse. So they all are very talented and can really, as I call right here, get their share of plays at any time.
That might be a big factor in this game is they have so many young receivers. You guys have so many young DBs. You're a DB coach. Womack, Luter, and all your backup DBs. How do you feel the group's coming along, Steve, and how do you feel like you match up on the back end in this matchup?
I think we match up well. I'm very pleased with how the guys have been playing. We've got to be consistent throughout this performance in this game and throughout, postseason. But it starts here with this game first, allowing us to be able to proceed and move on. Our front seven has always been, the focal point of this defense for years, and see the way the guys are stepping on the back end has been great. But the key thing for us this week is, we got to go out and make plays. We can't give up any big plays. We got to keep the ball in front of us. We got to find a way to take it away.
Can extend plays with his legs, and he's not looking to run, but he is looking to throw. How big of an emphasis is it this week for you to keep him in the pocket, or can he beat you there too?
Well, it's always a big emphasis if we can try to contain the quarterback and not allow him to be able to have that extra time. So that's something where I do a great job of up front. Again, with our different, stunts and line movements, and Kasek does a great job of really orchestrating all that. And our guys, again, Eric's back. Exciting to see him back at practice and how he's moving around. So that physical presence inside, and then, both from the outside. We got to do a great job containing this guy and really trying to get pressure and sack him.
They got 2 starting tight ends in Musgrave and Kraft. How's Greenlaw looking, and do you see him matching up with these guys? I know he's had some Achilles pain. How's he looked with you guys gave him a couple weeks off?
He's looking good. I mean, he's up here, what I call ready to go. Greenlaw, to me, is just one of those warriors, man. He's going to be ready to play at any time. We got to make sure we protect him against himself. So yesterday he had some time off, and today he was back at it, and he's going to be ready to play. I have no reservations about the matchup with him nor Fred, on their tight ends. And as you've seen us in the past, we run with receivers down the middle of the field as well. So these guys are very talented, and again, it's going to be a tough task for us. Appreciate it. Thank you.